Last month, my daughter looked me in the eye and said, "Mom, I wish you'd left Dad. I really do." I'm 78 years old, and those 7 words have been playing in my head every single day since, because I spent 40 years in a marriage that had gone cold, telling myself I was doing it for her and her brother. I stayed because that's what good mothers did. And now I'm finding out that all that sacrifice, all those years of quiet misery, taught my children exactly the wrong lessons about love. My name is Margaret. I married Paul in 1968. I was 22, he was 25. We met at a church social. He was studying to be an accountant, steady and responsible, and my mother approved of him. That felt important at the time. The first few years were fine, not passionate, but fine. We talked about practical things, bills, repairs, whether to buy a new car. I told myself this was what marriage was: comfortable, predictable, safe. Jennifer was born in 1971. Michael came 3 years later. And once we had the kids, the marriage became entirely about them, what they needed, where they'd go to school, how to pay for their activities. Paul and I stopped being husband and wife. We became co-managers of a household. I remember one evening when Jennifer was maybe 5. The kids were asleep. We were sitting in the living room, television on, but neither of us really watching. I said, "Paul, do you ever feel like we're just going through the motions?" He looked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. He said, "What do you mean? Everything's fine." Then he went back to his newspaper. That's when I started to understand. Paul wasn't unhappy. He was content with this. A wife who kept the house and raised the children. Someone who didn't demand attention or conversation or anything deeper. By the time I was 35, I knew I didn't love him anymore. I'm not sure I ever had, not really, but I also knew I couldn't leave. I had 2 children. I hadn't worked in years, and this was 1983. Women didn't just leave marriages because they were lonely. You stayed. You made it work. You thought about your children. So I stayed. I threw myself into being a mother. I volunteered at school, drove Jennifer to piano lessons and Michael to soccer practice. I made elaborate dinners. I kept everything running smoothly. I told myself that as long as the kids were happy, I could handle my own unhappiness. That was the deal I made with myself. But here's what I didn't see then. Kids notice everything. They notice when their parents don't touch each other. They notice when conversations are just logistics. They notice when their mother flinches slightly when their father walks into the room. They notice when love is absent, even if fighting is too. I know what you're thinking. Did we fight? Were we hostile? And the answer is no. We were never cruel to each other. We never screamed. Paul wasn't abusive. He wasn't mean. He was just absent, emotionally absent. And I was physically there, but completely checked out inside. We were 2 people living in the same house, raising children together, going through all the motions of a marriage with none of the substance. I thought I was protecting them from divorce, from a broken home, from having to split holidays and live out of suitcases. I thought an intact family with 2 parents under one roof was better than anything else, even if those 2 parents barely spoke beyond scheduling. There was this one afternoon when Michael was maybe 12. He was sitting at the kitchen table doing homework, and I was making dinner. Paul came home from work, walked right past both of us, went upstairs to change, came back down, sat in the living room with the newspaper, didn't say a word to either of us. And Michael looked at me with this expression I'll never forget. Not sad, not confused, just this kind of resignation, like he was already learning that this is what marriage looks like. 2 people existing in the same space, saying nothing. Jennifer left for college in 1989, Michael followed in 92, and suddenly Paul and I were alone together. No buffer, no reason to pretend we had anything to talk about. I'd wake up in the morning and look at him reading the paper at breakfast and think, I don't know you. After 20 plus years of marriage, I genuinely didn't know who he was, and he didn't know me. We lived like that for another 18 years, roommates, polite strangers who shared an address and some history. I had my routines, he had his. We'd have dinner together most nights, watching television in silence. Weekends, he'd golf, I'd garden. We'd come home and report on our days like colleagues. Nothing personal, nothing real. Paul died in 2010, heart attack. He was 67. We'd been married 42 years. At his funeral, people talked about what a good man he was, how devoted to his family, how hard he worked. And it was all true. He was a good man. He just wasn't the right man for me, and I wasn't the right woman for him. But we stayed anyway. After he died, I thought I'd feel relief, some kind of freedom. But mostly, I just felt sad. Sad that we'd spent 4 decades together and barely knew each other. Sad that all those years were just gone. Sad that we could have each had different lives, fuller lives, lives with actual love in them. Jennifer got married in 2012. She was 41. I thought she'd waited because she was focused on her career. She's a lawyer. But at her wedding, watching her dance with her husband, I noticed something. The way she held herself slightly apart from him. The way she smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes, the same way I used to smile at Paul. She got divorced 3 years later. She came to visit me right after the papers were finalized, sat on my couch and said, I don't know how to be married, Mom. I don't know what it's supposed to look like. And I understood exactly what she meant, because she'd never seen it. What she'd seen was 2 people coexisting, tolerating each other, going through the motions. Michael's on his second marriage now. The first one lasted 5 years. He told me once that he didn't know how to fight fair with his wife, didn't know how to have conflict and come out stronger on the other side, because in our house, there was no conflict, just cold silence, just polite distance. He never learned that you could disagree and still love someone, that you could work through hard things instead of just avoiding them. Last month, Jennifer told me she's seeing a marriage counselor. Her second marriage is struggling. We were having coffee at her kitchen table when she said it, and then she said the thing I can't stop thinking about. Mom, I wish you'd left Dad. I really do. I asked her why. Part of me hoped she'd say something that would make it okay, that would validate all those years of staying. She said, because you taught me that marriage is endurance, that it's something you suffer through, that love is just choosing to stay even when you're miserable. And I don't want that, Mom. I don't want to spend 40 years with someone I'm just tolerating. She said she remembers being a teenager, watching Paul and me sit across from each other at dinner, eating in silence. She remembers thinking that's what marriage was, 2 people who'd given up on each other but were stuck together. She remembers feeling sorry for me, and she remembers deciding she'd never let that happen to her. Except it did happen to her, because that's all she knew. She picked someone safe, someone who wouldn't demand too much, someone she could coexist with, just like I did. And then she woke up 3 years into her marriage and realized she was living my life. Michael told me something similar last Christmas. He's in therapy trying to figure out how to be emotionally available to his wife because he never saw emotional availability growing up. He saw 2 people who shared a house and responsibilities, but nothing deeper. No affection, no vulnerability, no real intimacy. And he didn't even know that was missing until his first wife left him for it. I thought I was protecting my children by staying. I thought divorce would damage them, scar them, make them feel unwanted or unloved. But staying damaged them in a different way, a quieter way. It taught them that marriage is something to endure rather than enjoy, that love is optional, that you can build a life with someone you don't really connect with, and that's just what adults do. You see, I spent 40 years modeling a relationship that looked fine from the outside, but was completely hollow on the inside, and my children learned from what they saw, not from what I told them. I could say all the right things about love and commitment, but what they witnessed every single day was two people who'd settled for loneliness together instead of facing it alone. If I could go back and tell my 35-year-old self something, it would be this. Your children are watching you. They're learning what love looks like by watching you and your husband. And if what they see is resentment, distance, and quiet resignation, that's what they'll think relationships are supposed to be. I'm not saying everyone in an unhappy marriage should leave. I'm not saying it's simple or easy. I know it's not. But I am saying that staying for the kids isn't always the noble sacrifice you think it is. Sometimes you're not protecting them. You're teaching them to settle, to stay in relationships that make them lonely, that love isn't something to fight for or expect or believe in. I stayed for 40 years thinking I was being a good mother, and now both my children are in their 50s, struggling in their own relationships, trying to unlearn what they learned from watching mine. Jennifer's seeing her second marriage counselor. Michael's on medication for anxiety and depression for the first time in his life. And I look at their pain and wonder how different their lives might have been if I'd been brave enough to choose something different. Paul died 14 years ago. I've been alone since then. And honestly, it's not that different from being married to him. I was alone then too, just with someone in the room. I think about all those years sometimes, all those dinners in silence, all those nights sleeping next to someone I didn't really know, all those moments where I could have said something, done something, changed something, but I didn't, because I thought I was doing the right thing for my children. But sacrifice without authenticity isn't love, it's just suffering. And when you suffer for decades pretending it's for someone else's good, you teach the people watching you that suffering is normal, expected, the price of being responsible. My daughter's working on her second marriage now, trying to figure out how to be vulnerable with another human being. My son's learning at 51 years old what emotional intimacy even means. And I'm 78. Looking back on a marriage that was never really a marriage, wishing I'd understood sooner that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for your children is show them what it looks like to choose yourself, to choose honesty, to choose the possibility of real love over the safety of quiet misery. If you're staying in a relationship that's made you hollow, telling yourself it's for your kids, think about what you're teaching them, not with your words, but with your life. Because they're watching. They're learning what to expect, what to accept, what love is supposed to feel like. And if what they see is you settling, enduring, quietly dying inside while pretending everything's fine, that's what they'll do too. I can't get those 40 years back. I can't undo the lessons I taught my children by staying when I should have been honest about what wasn't working. But maybe you can. Maybe you can make a different choice. Maybe you can show your kids that it's okay to want more than just endurance, that love should be more than two people tolerating each other until one of them dies. If this meant something to you, leave a comment. Tell me what you're teaching the people who are watching you. And if you know someone who's staying in something that's emptied them out, share this with them. Sometimes we need to hear that choosing ourselves isn't selfish. Sometimes it's the most honest thing we can do. Thanks for listening.